Hey Carol, do you know why watermelons can't get married?
Well, you wrote down the answer, but why can't watermelons get married, Dee?
Because they can't elope. A guy,
And
a guy told that to Megan about she was in the line at Walgreens and he told her. I thought that was funny.
why? Yeah. You do run into people like that sometimes. You think, what?
I thought it was funny. Okay, so do you want to
But
do the rest of
my
it?
teaser was going to be that I saw bulbs for tulips and daffodils and crocuses on sale at Costco this week. I
Seems a
think they,
little early.
I think they were also there, yeah, way early. But speaking of early, let's just get this episode started because get it started.
Okay, welcome to the Garden Angelus, where we chat about flowers, veggies, and all the best dirt. I'm Dee Nash from Guthrie, Oklahoma, where I still have a large garden out in the country.
And I'm Carol Michael from Indianapolis, Indiana. I have a suburban garden measured in square feet. It's about a third of an acre. The size has not
We are,
changed since we started this podcast.
no, mine got smaller, but not small enough. We are Garden Angelus because we love gardening and we want you to love it too.
Yes, we do, and we aren't afraid to tell all of our gardening secrets, the good, the bad, and yes, even the ugly. But let's move on to this week's episode. Hello, Dee.
Hi there, tell me about your garden.
Well, of course, I mowed and I
Yep.
did a bunch more weeding. I said goodbye to the cucumber vines. They were pathetic, all yellowed, so they're out of here.
Hmm.
Um, And honestly, the lack of rain is going to bring an early into the vegetable garden, I think. The only thing really left out there are peppers and tomatoes, and if I plant some fall things. But anyway, so sad. On a happier note, I have planted out the mums that I bought,
Yep.
potted up the cool wave pansies, um, and the white phlox that I bought. And I wrote a blog post, which I called Plant Crastination, about people who buy plants and then never get them in the ground or potted up, which would not be us, right, Dee?
Nope, not usually. I mean,
So,
I don't buy as much stuff as I used to either. People asked me that the other day and I was like, the garden's full. The garden's really full. So
okay.
anyway, so in my world, not much has happened because I got 5 inches of rain over 3 days. I just went and looked at the gauge and I was like, crud, no wonder. And it just came down in torrents and torrents of rain. But I did write a post for Substack that was about um, what I'm going to plant in the vegetable garden. And I have all the seeds right here because I was
Oh,
writing about it. And I'm gonna plant those. So that'll be under my garden commissions. That's all I
very
have
nice.
here. What about you
We
in
did
the
get
playing
point,
favorite thing?
wait a minute. We got point
Oh,
zero 0.07 inches yesterday morning, which
that
is,
doesn't even count.
I know, that's all the way rain we've gotten since I think August 20th, according to my record. So is
That's
dry.
bad.
That is dry. I will do my
Yeah,
favorite now.
it's not dry here. Not
My
dry.
favorite this week, and it was probably my favorite a year ago, is the Bernardia japonica, which is in full bloom.
Yep.
Those are those little funny bulbs I got from the Elizabeth Lawrence garden that you cannot buy for love nor money. And they are quite beautiful. And we'll put a picture in the newsletter because they are beautiful. And they're
Cool.
spreading ever so slightly every year. So it's about a 3 foot long by 8 inch wide bunch of them. So it's almost where I occasionally have dug up like one or two bulbs and handed it to somebody and said, grow this. And I know my one friend, hers came up because she sent me a picture of it. So anyway, yeah, that's
Which
what's
friend
going
was
on.
this? Your
Is a
next door
friend from
neighbor?
Garden Club.
Oh, garden club friend.
Yes. How about your
Well,
favorite?
my favorite this week is a sweet little climbing rose. And when I mean little, the bloom's that big, which is what would you say for
An
people
inch?
who aren't watching us, an inch? I'm looking at it right outside my window and it's Phyllis Bide. And I bought it years ago from Annie's Annuals. Is Annie's Annuals back in business? Did
You
someone
know
buy
what? I
them?
don't know because, they don't really have stuff appropriate for my garden, I don't think. And if it was appropriate, the shipping cost just knocked me back and said,
Yeah.
so good place, especially if you're in the California area on the West Coast. I mean, they lived and breathed by Annie's Annual. So, but anyway, we
Yeah,
digress.
I honestly don't know if they're still open anymore, but there was some talk that someone was going to buy them. Their website's still up, but it may just be for research purposes. One of our people out west can tell us. Anyway, Phyllis Bide is blooming again, and she's really lovely, and I need to prop her up because, climbers want to leisurely lay over sometimes. So this little stem, but it's very sweet. It's pink and yellow. So
That
that's my
sounds
favorite.
pretty.
It is very pretty.
All right, we have two questions, one from each of us.
Yeah, I had a question.
Go with your question.
Okay, so I have this double flowering oak leaf hydrangea that I really love, and it's very, very hard to get. It's called Snowflake. It's hard to get in commerce. You can buy it online. And there's one nursery that had it up in Tulsa. So I have one. I would like to have three. And so I said, Carol, this after we recorded last week, Carol, can we take cuttings now? And the answer is
The answer is, and I looked it up and I pulled it off the shelf, D, my textbook in plant propagation from back in the day. And I look at this thing and I'm like, what did I do to the cover of this book? It is all torn up, and I'm the only owner of it. Anyway,
you were carrying it in a backpack. That's what it was.
I don't know. But anyway, it says softwood cuttings in mid-spring.
Yeah, I looked it up too. Softwood cuttings mid-spring, early summer. But here's the deal. You have to keep those watered, and that's some work, right? So, and the reason you want to do it in mid-spring, I wrote that whole article on softwood cuttings and a blog post, but you want to do it in mid-spring because that's when all the hormones are going through the plant telling it, let's bloom, let's get going, that kind of thing. But I also read that you could take hardwood cuttings in late winter, but I don't know why you'd want to since it's only like a month or two and you could do it in spring. So I'll see about it. I've tried various things, but it doesn't always work out. I know
Yeah,
you can do
I
it though.
you can you can experiment all day long because it's sitting there. So I would try
Well,
it
I could lay it
mid-spring.
on it. I think I'll try this instead. I think I'm going to lay a soft limb on its side and peg it.
I
That's what I'm
was
going to
just going to
do.
suggest, why don't you try pegging a limb to see what happens?
I think that's a
Because
good
that
idea.
often, you lay it and you make it have contact with the ground, and then you take like a landscape staple or one of those long pins, you pin that thing to the ground, and often it will root right there, especially if you nick it a little bit.
Yeah, I think I'll try that.
I would definitely try that. And by the way, since I got this book out, you made me go down a little tiny rabbit hole.
Oh, did I?
Well, I
What did
looked
we decide those are called? There's rabbit holes and then there's like breadcrumbs.
breadcrumb trails. Well, I just looked in this book when I bought it for college in this, and I would have bought it in the spring of 78 probably. I paid $18.95 for it,
Wow.
which I looked it
At
up.
that time, that seemed like a lot of money.
Well, it says in 2025 dollars, it would be $93.89.
I believe that.
I know
Shows we're getting
college,
old,
yeah.
Carol.
College textbooks are expensive because that's, anyway, here's my question. Why won't my tomatoes ripen, Dee? It has been so embarrassing not to
Here
have a
too.
not to have a counter full of tomatoes. And anyway, today the dailydirt.com popped up a little newsletter thing. They had the exact article. It's written by an extension person over in Illinois. And it is, I keep telling people, it's the weather. It's the weather. It's not me, it's the weather. And
It
it
is the
is the
weather.
weather. It's been too hot. And they really like it in the 70s. And so we are getting into a period of time when like the highs have been in the 70s the last few days. So I'm thinking the tomatoes need to get a little kick in this kick in the vine and start ripening. So that and the raccoons. But anyway,
Well, and here the problem has been rain. We've had so much rain and the weather's been too cool and not enough pollinators have been out. So people's tomatoes didn't ripen here either. I think I got five this year.
I was so embarrassed.
Ugh,
Ah,
tomatoes.
I had to
They're
buy some.
irritating.
I had to buy some. Anyway, we'll put a
Insect of
link
the
to.
week.
So we had this one a couple of weeks ago. I was out doing a bunch of pruning around, digging up some weeds, and there was a praying mantis, big
Hmm.
one.
Big
So
one. So
big
let me
one.
guess.
It was the Chinese praying mantis.
Yeah, because the Chinese praying mantis is out competing our native one, which is the
Yes.
Carolina mantis. I
Yes,
see both, and those Chinese ones are big, big.
they
They look
are.
unfriendly, Carol. They look like they might bite you.
I gave it a big stare down. But anyway, and then I left it alone. And I looked up, went into a little bit of a rabbit hole. And so the Carolina praying mantis, their wings only cover two-thirds of their abdomen, whereas the Chinese, it covers their complete abdomen.
Hmm.
And you know what else I discovered?
What?
They're in two different genuses.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either. One is the Asian is Tenodera sinensis, and the Carolina mantis is Stagmomantis carolina.
Huh.
Anyway, yeah, and the Asian ones are much bigger. Both of them are aggressive. Well, the Asian is
Aggressive
more,
insect eaters.
yes, so they will eat
Yeah.
other insects like uh, aphids and things. And then they said that some Asian, I guess Asian's the proper word instead of Chinese, Asian mantises, they said some of them have captured hummingbirds.
Yeah. Yeah, there's actually a video.
I've never seen one
And
that
no,
big.
and no, it's not AI. That gets passed around sometimes. Yeah, the birders do not like the Asian ones at all, and they will sometimes cut them in half with their clippers. But
Ugh.
I haven't gone that far. I mean, I don't see as many out here, and I see more of the Carolina ones in my garden. But I think
Yeah,
that's because my garden is really isolated. I mean, I'm out in the
right.
country, no one gardens around me, that kind of thing.
The other thing is, I have an old insect book from 1925, I think it is,
Yeah,
and they have some very cute folklore stories about mantises, how um,
mantids.
mantids that they would help lost children find their way home.
Yeah,
Uh,
people used to see them really friendly. It's kind of these little friendly garden companions. They are a pretty aggressive predator insect, even the regular ones, but the Chinese ones or Asian ones are really, really
yes,
aggressive.
exactly.
But
So
they won't
anyway,
hurt us. I always tell people, but they won't hurt you.
right.
My
Yeah,
I
they
saw one on my car the other day. There was one on my car, and my little granddaughter was over and she was like, "Look, Gigi, there's a praying mantis." Because she knows all things bugs, all things
oh,
gardening. And
sure.
she's 5. And I said, "By golly, there is." And she goes, "Are you gonna pick it up? Are you gonna help it? It's on your car." Because she launched into 5-year-oldness. And I said, "Nope, I'm just gonna leave it be. I'm not driving my car. It will find its way." Well, then a little bit later, we walked around and she goes, "Where did it go?" And I said, "Probably up in that tree." I said, "See, nature finds its own way."
Nature finds its own way. So anyway, I'll do a quote and we will find our way to the letter X.
Okay, good luck with that. Good job.
Happy September. The world shall now transform into pumpkin everything by Keith Wynne in 2017. Isn't that the truth, Dee?
That is the truth.
The
Yeah,
all
everything's about
defined
the
aisle
pumpkin.
is all things pumpkin, glass pumpkins, straw pumpkins, plush pumpkins, pumpkin spice this, pumpkin spice that.
Yeah.
Ah,
Um, yeah. I used to really be into pumpkins. I'm not as much now, but I'm getting ready to start that job. And somebody asked me, "Are you going to install the pumpkin, the big pumpkin installations by people's front doors?" And I said, "Nope, I'm in the greenhouse. Somebody younger with a really strong set of arms and backs, they're going to deal with those." So,
that's true.
because
All
I used
right.
to do that. I used to do that in front of my house. But you have a few rotting pumpkins later, and you're the one who installs and takes it out. Mm, no, thank
No,
you.
I
I
have a
use
few
Talavera.
pumpkins. I have a couple pumpkins on my vine back there. Like I said, I am probably giving those away. Um, because pumpkins on your porch, they also lure in trick-or-treaters. But that's a topic for another day. X is
Not
for
out here, they don't. Zeros.
zeros is
Zeros.
the Greek word for dry. So if a plant name starts with zero, like in zero chrysum, that is a dry flower, and that is straw
Like
flowers.
zer like xeriscaping. So straw
Yes.
flowers would be extremely good for xeriscaping.
They would. And so I actually, I'm going to reach over here because I grab it. I looked it up
Oh,
in Matt Mattis's Mastering the Art of Flower Gardening. I
mhm.
thought, why Google this when I can look to see what Matt says?
Yeah, because Matt knows a lot about flower gardening and vegetable gardening.
So, well, the one thing is he identifies it as Helichrysum, which is the other botanical name for it,
Bracteatum.
Bracteatum. He says, as a garden plant, its beauty is limited to its floral display and not its foliage. That is true.
That's true. It's boring.
If you plan on picking the flowers to dry, know the terminal bud will fade before any side buds open, making it an untidy garden plant.
Mm.
As such, it is best to plant straw flowers somewhere where they can be picked as they open and can be either used as a fresh or dried flower. So he says if you're going to
And
cut,
they're
go ahead.
practically dried. They're practically dried from the minute
Yeah,
they bloom.
yeah, they are practically dried. He says if drying flowers, cut individual blossoms off at midday just as they open, cut the stem off at the base of the flower, run a hooked wire down through the center of each flower until the hooked end disappears within the center and allow it to dry. That makes sense. Easily started from seeds, 4 to 6 weeks before the last frost date. Successive sowing until mid-July extends the harvest. They all enjoy hot, dry weather and full sun at all times. They would not have liked Oklahoma this summer.
No, but normally they would because normally we are hot and dry, but not this year.
But
So
I have grown straw flowers, not here
I
so
have,
much, but at my other garden, I grew a bunch one year.
I grew them a long time ago because I think that was really in style. And so I grew them. I
And
mean, they were
yeah,
okay.
I made some wreaths and stuff with hot gluing onto them. And
Yep.
I think until probably a couple years ago, I still had some of those hanging around here, and I finally tossed them out but they lasted 20 plus years.
Wow. That's
So
awesome.
I'll have to see if where would it be if there was one? It'd be in the other room. But anyway, I'll have to look around to see if I still have one of those junking around here.
And then do you want to talk about Johnny's and how you can get seeds from there, or do you want to move on to our next
Well, Johnny's has
Xeros?
straw flower seeds, and also I looked and Select Seeds has them as well. They have like
Yeah,
4 varieties, and they are native to Australia, so they
they're
can
back in
endure.
style.
Yeah, they are back in style. That's part of that
I'm not
granny
always in
gardening.
style. I
That's
don't
part of that
care.
granny grandma core gardening, I think.
I think so too. Our best episode, by the way, listeners, is
Yeah, it
our
is.
Grandma
Well,
Core
it's
episode,
our
isn't it?
best Substack newsletter. Yeah,
Oh, okay. It's not our best episode.
I would have to go look.
We'd have to look, but it's kind of cool. All right, so the next one you mentioned was xeranthemum, which is paper flower. I don't even know what xeranthemum is.
Well, if you go out to Johnny's Selected Seeds, if you click on that
I'm
link I
looking.
gave you, you'll find that it is a very lovely flower.
Oh, I've
Reminiscent
seen it. Yeah.
reminiscent to me a little bit of carnations in color and stuff.
Yeah, but
So,
it's small. It looks
yes.
small.
Silvery
Cute.
white and lavender blooms supported by sturdy yet thin and flexible stems. Plants are well contained, upright, and densely branched, also known as annual daisy everlasting, paper flower, or immortelle.
Oh, Immortelle. Okay, so Immortelle is is it scented? Because in gosh, I'm going down a rabbit hole. I hope I'm okay.
Scented. I'm going to suggest that it's in the daisy family. I'm going to say it's not really scented,
That's
but
interesting.
you go down that
Keep
rabbit
going.
hole.
I'm going down it.
Well, if you go
Yes,
down,
but this is the yellow one. So there's other things that are called Immortelle
yes,
because
I
it's a
don't.
common name.
Yeah. I was going to say Flora Farms had a picture of the xeranthemum, and it's the usual picture of her holding the giant bouquet and her head turned away from
Uh-huh.
and they showed him as all white, and I would think that the ones that Johnny had where they have lavender blooms mixed in, I thought that was really pretty and kind of tempting tempting to get that. It is an annual, so
It's a good filler because they have it when you look it up on Johnny's, it's with all the other fillers like Dara, Ami, all of those. So
yeah. So you could add it to your cut flower garden next year, Dee.
probably not.
Why not,
Uh,
Dee?
I only have so much room and I really like zinnias.
Okay, so
That's
X
so let me
X.
so what if I said to you, instead of planting all the violas you want in the world, you plant Immortelle.
Well, they're two different seasons, so I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, think of something that you grow in the same season.
I can't.
Chrysanthemums.
Chrysanthemums don't really. I have chrysanthemums. They're really fall. Spring is for violas. You're not going to talk me out of it. There's nothing else.
Okay, so I make my point. Exactly.
All right, so I knew talking about two flowers would be very short, so I did think, oh, we should have made this about xeriscaping, which is when they landscape to reduce or eliminate the need for irrigation, very popular in like New Mexico, Arizona, regions that do not get a consistent or reliable amount of fresh water falling from the sky.
Hmm.
So, um,
Yeah, here's another plus to xeriscaping. A lot of the plants that are in xeriscaping can be grown in full sun and they have silvery leaves. Okay, so the good news about that is deer and rabbits don't eat them very
really,
often. I won't
huh?
say they won't ever eat them well because silvery plants, which a silvery plant almost always says that it's a low water plant,
Like lavender.
silvery like lavender, like helioscrum, all the silvery stuff, which is curry plant, which is the other immortelle. Anyway, those plants with those silvery leaves, they don't tend to like them because they have little hairs on them and they don't taste good and they have perfumed foliage.
Right.
Euro's another one. I could probably think of more, but I'm not going to try.
Well, and for you, here's the thing about xeriscaping. If your climate is naturally a dry, hot climate, it makes perfect sense to plant for that. Your garden would have been horrible if you had planted all silvery leaf foliage stuff thinking you were going to have a hot, dry Oklahoma summer, and now it's been record breaking, I would say, in terms of rain.
It has been record breaking. Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma is not a dry climate, it's a prairie climate. And that's what I always tell people. It means we have crazy storms, means some years were wet, some years were dry, most years were drier. And I did grow yarrow. I grew yarrow, I grew curry plant in a pot, things like that. I still have Arizona cypress and it still did okay. It's all about drainage. So, but no, not a whole, if I did a whole garden of it, that's also the reason that deer don't really like to eat mums. Because if you look at mums,
The little tiny bit of hair on the leaf.
right, and they smell, the
Yeah,
leaves smell. So they
right,
don't like stuff like that. They do not prefer it. I'm not saying a deer will never eat it because a deer will eat anything if it's really hungry.
right.
But assuming it has other things to eat, it'd much rather eat your daylilies and your roses.
So if you live in a climate with xeriscaping is
Yep,
something that should be done. Nobody writes better about it than our friend Noelle Johnson.
right.
She's written several books, a couple of books about that kind of gardening, and we should put a link to a couple of those in case people want to explore further. She's a good resource.
Hmm.
Arizona Plant
Lawrence,
Lady,
yeah, she's wonderful. And then
the
Lauren
AZ.
Springer, is it Ogden? Lauren, oh my gosh, I can't remember her name all of a sudden. It's Lauren Springer, I think Ogden.
I think you're right.
She is in Colorado and she also writes about it from a Colorado perspective. So those are two different perspectives on a very dry climate. And dry climates are complicated because desert climates because they're very hot in the daytime and very cool at night, which I don't have either because I have all that humidity. So
Right,
there you go.
right. Okay. So you do the quote and then people are just on pins and needles wondering how did they use the letter X in the vegetable garden?
Carol finds a way. Some of the rarest days of the year come in September, days when it is comfortably cool but pulsing with life. Hal Borland. We haven't had
Yay, Hal. We
Hal
haven't talked about
Borland.
Hal, good old Hal. I have so many of his books now.
I love Hal Borland. Okay, so vegetables.
Extra things you can do in your vegetable garden to make it a little nicer.
Right. You don't have a flower garden. You just say, or you don't do it as much. Say you're more of a vegetable gardener. What are some of the things you can do to make your garden better?
Well, first of all, keep up with the weeds. Not only
Which
are
would
they
apply in every garden.
exactly, they are unsightly and they rob the nutrients from the other plants, we say.
Yep. And then you wrote add flowers for pollinators. Yep.
Absolutely.
The more pollination, the more pollinators you bring in, but don't crowd out your veggies, the better off your vegetable garden will be. So
Exactly.
herbs, add herbs. Herbs flower and they're delicious.
Yes. I put in here to grow a cover crop or do succession planting in unused ground. And don't look at my vegetable garden because after I pulled out those cucumbers and there was a lot of unused ground that I need to figure out. Either I'm going to start piling leaves on it or maybe just look in my seed stash and just throw a bunch of radish and other seeds out there. But it's good to keep the ground producing.
Right. And so with that, I just pulled out a bunch of my tomato plants that were non-producing. Great plants, no tomatoes. Add compost to improve your soil fertility, and I did do that. It improves fertility, it improves drainage, it improves friability, it just improves everything.
Yes. And then I would say you would mulch to reduce the need for watering. And this is something I don't regularly mulch, but I did get some salt hay mulch to
Mhm.
try. And I put that around the tomato plants, and it actually did a really nice job of holding down the weeds. And I think it'll decompose nicely and enrich the soil. So I think I need to mulch more than I do. And since my lawn is organic, I could actually just pick up the lawn
But lawn
clippings.
clippings.
Yeah, that would work too. But mulching
Lawn
helps reduce
clippings, if they're
watering.
nice and thick,
Yeah.
are really great in a vegetable garden because they do break down faster than wood mulch. But I sometimes use my arborist chips in my vegetable garden because we get such hard rain that it splashes up on the leaves and that causes fungal diseases. So I use it, and so then I always get asked the question of, well, doesn't that mulch reduce the fertility of your soil? No, it doesn't, as long as you don't mix the wood mulch into your beds if you just let it sit
Exactly.
on top.
Right.
That's always a big deal. So then you wrote, remove diseased and damaged plants promptly. Yes, and non-producers. If they don't go
Yes. Once they're
produce, get
done,
them
they're
out of there.
done. I did that yesterday. Well, I don't know why I let kale grow to almost 3 feet tall, but it's out of there now. It's on the compost pile. It's a
Because you
big
were
mess.
doing other things.
Yeah.
And then you said visit it daily and water when needed. Yeah, do that because that old adage of there's no greater fertilizer for a garden than the gardener's shadow is true.
That is true. And I'm not saying that I go out every single morning to the vegetable garden, but I do look out there and most days I make it out there.
I almost always go out to the garden. I mean, I'm surrounded by the garden, so I don't really have a choice. So I'm out there almost every day.
And the last thing is harvest. You do not want to know how many people I know who grow a vegetable garden, and then when it comes to the part of harvesting, I don't know if they are like, is this the right time? And they're just afraid to pick it, but they end up
Hmm.
with overgrown vegetables out there. And so you need to harvest and keep picking because that keeps things producing as well.
Yeah, and if it's raining, like if you've had a lot of rain, things like cucumbers, zucchini squash, other summer squash, they go nuts. Watermelon.
Oh,
So
yeah, they just
you really do need
explode.
to check them. Yeah.
And tomatoes
So,
too. After a big
oh
rain, go
yeah,
out there and
they'll
get those
crack
because they'll crack so fast.
because all that water goes into those stems and goes right into those water heavy vegetables.
Exactly. So that was our extra things you can do in the vegetable garden. Now, if our listeners have other ideas, we are open to them, but we could
Totally.
extend our list.
I see what you did there. How about you do the next quote?
The soft puff balls of thistles and ground pine turning gold, and summer's last words set upon the glittering edge of cold. And that is Francis Frost, September Dusk, Pool in the Meadow, Poems for Young and Old, 1933.
So interestingly, I think that's later in September because the glittering edge of cold, we don't have that here yet.
No, although it has
For
turned
us, that would
chilly.
be here it would be October. I mean, for us, it's chilly too. It's only 69 degrees. That's really chilly for, we're recording this at the very end of August,
Yes, on the 29th.
but it'll be published in September. So that's onto our bookshelf. And we got this book from a publisher from
From
Cool
Cool Springs
Springs
Press.
Press. And it is called The Vintage Farmhouse Garden by Rhonda Kaiser. And so I'm so out of touch that I did not know who Rhonda Kaiser was, but she's a big deal.
I didn't know either. Southern Home and Farm is what her garden education and design is called, and she's on Instagram, and we'll put a link to her. But the subtitle of this is Your Guide to Creating Vintage Inspired Outdoor Space.
Yeah,
And this is a beautiful book, Dee.
it is beautiful. It is definitely, oh, what I would call it eye candy. And she shows you how to do all of these little projects. She has a beautiful vegetable garden that is really a potager because it's very stylized. It's
Right?
enclosed by a nice border, has an arbor at one end. I mean, she has worked hard in her garden, she and her husband and she either said her brothers or her dad. She has a lot of help as far as
Yeah,
like
her
design.
grandfather, I think, uncles, I
Yeah.
don't, lots of family
Just
involved.
lots of family involved in this deal. Anyway, it's very beautiful and she's an influencer. She's on Instagram, probably on TikTok, but I don't do TikTok, so I'm not going to go
I
look,
don't do TikTok either unless it's somebody put something on Instagram that was on TikTok.
which they do now. So it's a very welcoming space. She has a beautiful greenhouse. And she does tablescapes. She reminds me a little bit, I hope they don't take this personally. Reminds me a little bit of Joanna Gaines.
Yeah, a little
And
bit.
and then the precursor to that would have been Martha Stewart. And oh, there was a lady who used to do this, and her first name was Bee, and she was wonderful. She got dementia and passed away. She was African American. But there's been a whole long list of people who are highly creative, and they're highly creative in the home. And I would say
Right.
she
And
fits right in.
and she's down in the Houston, Texas area, I think.
Yeah, she
Because I
is.
mean, like she has a beautiful setting here showing the her greenhouse in autumn with all the pumpkins
Yeah,
and everything.
pumpkins.
And
Yeah.
then she's got it again at Christmas time. And I know that's Houston, Texas, because I don't think you or I could have poinsettias outside at Christmas time, but it is beautiful.
No, we couldn't. That would be not good for us, but that's okay.
No, that's
S-
okay. It's just there's good inspiration there and a lot of ideas and to make things feel homier. She has a lot of good tips and things and so
She has
I
some stenciling in her
yes.
greenhouse. She uses garden cloches, which of course I use, and we
Yeah.
should use. I mean, she
So
just does all kinds of things, and they're just really good practical tips.
they are. And so if you enjoy the vintage garden look and we both do, and
Mhm.
also decorating your spaces for various holidays. She's got some 4th of July stuff. She's got, like I said, Christmas. She's got
Mhm.
the lots of good ideas for Christmas, even that I could do here with the way she's done lights and things like that,
Mhm.
pumpkins
I
and
love I
things.
love her pumpkins in front of her house.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's
That's really
beautiful.
pretty. Yeah, it's really pretty. So she definitely is really good at this, and I love her wreath there too. And I like her. It's like a swag over her door, and it's on an angle, which is kind of different. And of course, to add that vintage look, she has an old spade, an antique spade up against the door. I've done a antique like sled at Christmas time by my door.
Right, right.
I
Very
don't do
beautiful.
as much of that stuff now as I did when I was in my 40s.
Yeah, but there's it's still a beautiful book and
It
um
is.
I would recommend this to anybody that if you're new or old to gardening, there's just a lot of good ideas in here and a lot of inspiration and a lot of, you look at that and think, I could do that.
Well, and then
I,
she shows you how.
yeah, yeah, the how part is good because you can see the pictures over there on Instagram and places like that, but to get the how, you need to have the book.
It's a good book.
Um, so she's got inside you says you'll find turn your farmhouse garden vision into reality,
Hmm.
including vintage finds in your garden design. Who doesn't love a good vintage find, Dee?
Right.
Incorporating outbuildings and stuff into your landscape,
I
adding
did that.
pollinator-friendly plants to your garden, celebrate the seasons. And then she's got some recipes using fresh flavors from the garden. So a little bit of everything in the Vintage Farmhouse Garden by Rhonda Kaiser.
It was
That's our
very
book.
fun.
Yeah, very fun.
I'll
Do
probably
that
keep it
quote.
because it's a fun one.
It is a fun one,
Okay,
yes.
it's a little bit of a poem. Of autumn months, September is the prime. Now day and night are equal in each clime. The 12th of this soul rises in the line, and doth in poising Libra this month shine. Anne Dudley Bradstreet. I have
Nice.
no idea what half of that meant, but
I
okay.
don't either.
I
I
don't
don't
know
either.
what and doth imposing Libra this month shine
I d
because
what sign are
means
you if
well,
are you
no, I'm September, I'm a Virgo, so I don't
okay.
know.
I don't know either.
I don't either. Okay, so dirt. We are going to talk about how milkweed supports native pollinators and fights spotted lanternfly, but does it really? So I did a little bit of a rabbit hole on this after we did the
And
dirt.
what did you think?
There's no proof, according to the scientists at the various extensions who have tried to quantify this, for lack of a
Yes.
better word. There has been a lot of anecdotal evidence of
Yes.
people noticing that spotted lanternfly keeps dying after it eats milkweed, which makes me want to laugh
Because milkweed
because,
is rather toxic, and that's why the monarchs eat it, because it's toxic, makes them toxic to other pests.
right, they don't taste good. So, but interestingly, as a side note to that, monarch caterpillars developed with milkweed, and so they know not to eat the center of the leaf.
Ah,
And that's where the most poison is, in the stems and in the center of the leaves, right? Well, I guess spotted lanternfly doesn't know that. And so, and spotted lanternfly will eat anything. So
right. So it's too
I,
dumb and it eats the poisonous part. Good.
yay. I mean, if it's really true, then yay. But we do have linked to an article which talks about it. And I had to look for it. I had to look at it because I was like, that just seems
Too good to be
crazy,
true.
right? Too good. That's right. Too good to be true. And so the scientists at the various extensions are like, okay, we have no proof yet, but so there you go.
Right. Right. Very good. I'll do a quote and we'll talk about rabbit holes. Oh, sweet September, thy first breezes bring the dry leaves rustle and the squirrel's laughter, the cool, fresh air whence health and vigor spring, and promise of exceeding joy hereafter. George Arnold.
I love September. It's one
I
of my
know you
favorite
do.
months,
It's the month you were born.
but I just love it anyway because you can feel
Yeah.
the change in the air. Except for
Right.
today is still cloudy. I'm like, I need some September sunshine. So my rabbit hole, you also went down.
Oh, I went down big time.
It's Elizabeth Enright. So we had a quote from her last week.
Yes, we
And
did.
then I said, wonder where that quote came from. So you and I searched for it, and then you listened to one of her books.
I listened to a book called The Saturdays, and it's about four little kids who uh, that are siblings, two boys and two girls, and they form a little club, the Isaac Club, which is Saturday Adventure Club or something like that. Anyway, it's named after their dog. So they each go on a Saturday adventure, and then the adventures kind of all wrap around and become very interesting stories on their own, and then it all kind of wraps up nice and neat. And yeah, it's a good story. It's not written for adults, but I listened to the audiobook, which is 4 hours long, so it's a pretty good book. But she run a Newbery for Thimble Summer, which I did not
Hmm.
read. And
Yeah, I
then
don't I don't remember reading Thimble Summer, but it sounds really familiar. So maybe one of my kids did. We went through a stage where we read all the Newberries. So I should ask Megan or Brennan if they read it. Um, and then you also read a book, a short, you read from her book of short stories, right?
Yeah, but I should say she started out life as an illustrator and she illustrated the books that she wrote, and then she kind of
Yeah.
got away from that and just became a writer. So I think it was in 1950. Did I write it in the notes? Because I'm over here looking at this other thing. She wrote a bunch of short stories that actually I think were published in various magazines and then were compiled into this book, which was called, let me go back to this note, The Moment Before the Rain. And I've read three or four of them, and they're very interesting. The first one I read was called One for the Collection.
Mm-hmm.
It's about an old lady that lives in a basement apartment in New York City without like any windows, and she comes up the stairs every morning to see what the weather's like. And then she goes to Central Park and she just looks for bits and bobs in the trash and meets up with other people in the park that that she sees, like the guy that picks up all the sticks and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
she picks up something that could change her life. And it's the
Ooh,
story is then what she decides to do with it.
that's cool.
And I don't want to spoil it. You want me to spoil it for you?
No, don't spoil it. No,
But the only
no.
way to read that book, as far as I know, is on openlibrary.org. I couldn't really find any copies of it anywhere. Um, there was another story about three kids that go out along a river to play for
Mm-hmm.
the day. Like the one mom is inside trying to be a writer and, sends her daughter off and she meets up with the two other kids.
Now we should say ahead of time. I mean, she wrote these way back when, right?
Yeah, they were written in I'm going to
50s?
say, I, I think this book was written in 1950. 1951 is when it came out. So most of these stories were probably written in the 40s.
So the interesting thing about this is if you see kids now, kids are watched over by their parents really closely.
Yes.
But you and I did not grow up in the 50s. We grew up in
No.
the 70s, 60s,
60s and
70s.
70s.
Right, 60s and 70s. But I don't know about your mom, but my mom was this way. I mean, literally, she would say, "So, what are you guys going to do today?" And I'd say, "Well, I'm going to go see my friend Chet." And she'd say, "Okay, have fun." And Chet lived down the street, or Laura and I are going to go on our bikes and run up to the little store. Okay, have fun. And then if you didn't go out, or if it was raining or whatever, if it was raining, I was allowed to read books. And I could read books if I went out. But the point is, if I stayed at home with my mom, she would always say, "You need to go find something to do, or I will find it for you." Well, find it for you meant
Meant
that I ended
chores.
up working. Yeah, it meant chores. So once I got my chores done that were my regular chores, I got the heck out of there. So kids had a lot of freedom. My children, who had a lot of freedom on our land, still are amazed. Like they will call me on the phone as adults and go, "Did you guys really just fill in the blank?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. We went and played to the park by ourselves." So go ahead about
We
this story.
So it's about these two girls and the one girl's little brother, and they meet at the river every day to play. They swim in
Uh-huh,
the
the
river.
river.
They swim out to the island. And at one point, the two girls had gotten separated from the boy, and some man tried to accost them, kind of, and they got away. And
Uh-huh.
then the little boy almost drowned when they were up by the dam, and it ends with her when she goes home at the end of the day. Her mother asks, "What'd you do?" And she says, "Oh, swam, played, nothing much." And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't think we had quite those adventures, but we would ride our bike to the pool every morning for swim practice by ourselves and ride home. And, we'd go out to play and we
I mean, you
played.
just did whatever. I mean, you went
We didn't
and
have
I
phones
mean,
to call home and say where we were, nothing.
and once it was time for, I mean, we often would come home for lunch or we'd stay at a friend's house and mom just assumed that the friend's mother fed us. If so, I mean, it was a different time.
It was a
So
different time.
if
But
I told,
anyway,
if my daughter found out that her daughter was playing by a river, she'd freak. So I don't know why it was different then. Probably because
I,
they were raised
yeah.
by people of the 30s. I don't know.
It, yeah, so that I opened that because it's on Open Library, I really have to read it uh, on my computer. It's almost too small to read on your phone.
Yeah,
Though
sometimes they're like that.
I found out you can hit a button and it'll read it to you, but it's that robot voice, so that's
I
no
can't do
good.
that.
It's like
No,
no,
the AI voice just isn't there yet. All right, so then you had more rabbit holeness.
So I also listened to after I listened to the Saturdays, I also listened to Fanny Flagg has a new book out, and I'm going to confess that I thought Fanny Flagg is still alive.
She have to be almost 80, right?
Oh, she's in her 80s, yeah. But she wrote a book
Yeah,
of short stories called Something to Look Forward to, and I would call they're interconnected short stories. Quite good. A
yeah.
nice listen. It's about a 7 hour audio, but you speed it up. And she did the narration, so that's good. But I read a ton of her books a few years ago.
She's 80, by the way. I looked her
Thank you.
up.
So that doesn't seem quite as old as it once did.
No, it really doesn't, which is kind of scary. Bill and I watched the Thursday Murder Club last night
Uh-huh.
on Netflix. I'm just gonna say it, the movie was not as good as the books,
The books
but
are very good. I heard that. I heard the movie that the
it took too
perspective has
long.
changed from being mostly it was always Joyce's perspective, and they've
Mhm.
switched it to Elizabeth's perspective.
I'd say they're even. They're even.
So,
But it just they didn't know how to make it as clever, even though the actors are all really good. So they gave it their best shot. It was enjoyable, don't get me wrong, but it just wasn't quite as good. But you started reading Catherine.
yes, well actually I'm listening to the audio book, Dee.
So I'm almost finished with it. It is taking me forever to read it because I've been reading it at night before bed.
I
And
am at the halfway point, I think.
it is really good.
It
Um,
is. Catherine by Anya Seton.
it's really well written. It's old and it's really well written.
I have I think it's 6 days left to get through the other 12 hours. So
The
I think
Lady
I can do it.
Swinford, the Lady Swinford,
I
which is a
can,
real person.
yes, yes.
But of course, it's a novel, so she took lots of liberties because we don't know very much
No, we do
about
not.
her life. So, except for she had a long affair with the Duke of Lancaster. Whew,
Yes.
that was tough. I was like, there are so many dukes in this thing because they were all children of the king. All right, so
Yes.
really fun. Our garden commissions. We have waxed on in our rabbit holes for a very long time. You?
I'm gonna mow, of course, probably on Mondays, and it is Labor Day. It'll be after Labor Day when this episode comes out. So I'm starting to think seriously about like which pelargoniums I'm gonna try to overwinter, and are there some things like the Swedish ivy and stuff that I'm going to take cuttings so I don't lose them. All that
Mhm.
time I bought this spring is in pots on the patio. I'm gonna pot that out to the vegetable garden and get those planted out. Um, And then I need to order microgreen seeds because I'm doing a program for my garden club in October about microgreens. And I would
Mhm.
like to be sure that I have some growing to take and show them. And I thought the best way to do that is just start my microgreen farm up and just start growing and harvesting, growing and harvesting. And hopefully by the time of the October meeting, I would have something to show them. So,
You will. You will. So I'm going to plant out my seeds, whatever I
yay.
decided this group to plant, and go from there. I'll definitely plant some turnips, definitely plant some lettuce and some radishes. So I've got some kale, so I don't know if I'll plant out more kale. My
Maybe.
kale lasted, it like came up in late summer, mid to late summer, and nothing ate it. So unless a rabbit got out there and ate it. I have a lot more wildlife now that my dog passed away. That's the way it goes sometimes.
Well, and I'm hoping that Quartz texts me fairly soon and says, the pansies are here.
I thought they were just spring, Carol.
No, I care more in the spring.
Ah, got it, got it. How about we wrap this up?
I will do a we do not care.
Oh, that's right. Oh, well, I thought we were doing one basically.
I'm doing one now. I do not care if you do not like pansies and violas. I will plant pansies and violas spring and fall. I do not care if you do not like them.
Okay, that was a pretty sassy one. All right, wrap us up.
Thank you for listening to The Garden Angelist. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode. We publish every week on Wednesdays at 12 a.m. Eastern Time.
But if you subscribe to our free newsletter, you'll get a link to listen to the podcast a whole day early and links to the products that we discuss. Some of these are affiliate links. Plus, if you go over to YouTube and see us, you can see us in person. God love you. And there are full episodes that show up on Tuesdays.
If you want to help support us, use our affiliate links. If you buy something after clicking through on them, we're in a small commission and it costs you nothing.
Or you can set up a monthly subscription through Buzzsprout, or you can make a one-time donation through PayPal. And I think Carol turned on, you can pledge money through the Substack newsletter too. Did you turn it on?
I might have turned it on. I don't
We
know.
talked about it. Anyway, that's all. Keep going.
Thank you to everyone who has done so. It helps us pay for podcast hosting.
It was lovely to chat with all of you over the Garden Gate. Bye until next week.
Bye, everybody.